everyone, my name is Kimberly Fox and I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today I'm going to demonstrate this card. And this card comes from the Paper Pumpkin card kit that you get in the mail. I believe it's once a month. So let's open up that kit. I'll show you how it comes. It comes like this. I got this when I signed up to be a demonstrator. It was a free kit for me. So we're going to open this up. It comes in a beautiful box, and it comes with a stamp set, and you get dimensionals. And I got some string and some little decorative pieces that are sticky on the back. Came with 3 of these. These are punch outs from cardstock, which you can see I've used one. And it comes with these gold foiled pieces that are sticky on the back. You just peel the paper, the sticky back off. And it comes with these little white dots for decoration. And Thinking of You stickers. All of the envelopes, and there are 9, I believe, in here. If I counted correctly, I probably didn't. And it came with this also. This is vellum with some nice gold foil around the edges. Excuse me. And it came with 3 different colors of cards. So this is, I don't know the official name, but this cardstock is green with stripes. This is a mauve with beautiful roses and polka dots. And then this beautiful pink. And that's what I'm going to be using today. So I'm going to put all this stuff back in here. Get it out of my way. Oh, and it also came with these cardstock label punch outs. As you can see, I've used 2. So I'm going to put those in there too, since I'm not going to be using any of that. So let me set this out of the way. And here again is the card that we are going to be making today. So I'm going to move this aside. Here's my card piece. And we're going to fold that in half. And I'm going to score this both directions. And there's that piece. Now, excuse me, I like to ink all of my paper up. So I'm going to ink it with some Tim Holtz ink, distress ink, and this is Victorian Velvet. So I'm going to ink up these edges pretty quickly. I will be using a Stampin' Up ink, and the color is Polished Pink. And the Polished Pink, you can find that in the catalog on page 123. And I'm going to get these edges here. And then I'm going to ink the inside of it. Now, I would suggest, if you are one of those people that like to ink your projects, when you use the Stampin' Up ink pad, make sure you use a, what are they called? Make sure you use I'm trying to think of what they're called. There we go, that's done. Some type of, like a piece of, a dauber. That's what I'm trying to think of. Make sure you use a dauber with your ink pads. That's important. You don't want to use it directly on your paper. Okay, so that part is done. So I have a piece of my stash. This is just a nice, pretty pink. It's not Pepto-Bismol pink. It's a very pale pink that I'm going to cut and use this in my card. This is an 8x8 sheet of paper. So I'm going to get out my cutter, and I'm going to cut this piece at, I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4. Actually, I'm going to cut it at 4 1/8. And I think I can get 2 of these out of here. Yes, I think I get 2 pieces out of that. Just test here. 4 1/4. Or do I want to cut it at 5? Maybe I want to cut it at 5. That's what I want to do. I want to cut it. I'm going to cut this at not 5 1/2, but I'm going to cut it at 5 3/8. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut this down at 4 1/8. And I think that'll make both of these the same size. Let's check that and see. Nope, that one's a little bigger, so I'm going to trim this one down. Yeah, it didn't quite make them the same size, so I'm just going to trim that down to 4 inches. There we go. So that way they'll be the same size. And I think that's the only time I need my paper cutter. Now, we have a wonderful paper trimmer with Stampin' Up. You can find that paper trimmer on page 151. And it also has a score piece in it. So you just use one machine or one tool for dual purpose. So I'm going to use some more of this pink on here from Tim Holtz, the Distress ink, and I think this is Victorian Velvet. Just gonna ink those up, ink this one up, and I'm pretty rough on my paper. And what I've discovered so far with Stampin' Up! Paper, it's wonderful. It takes my abuse. And I like that. There we go. So I don't know if I'm done with that, so I'm going to set that aside. So I'm going to move that out of the way. Got my pieces back. So let's go ahead and get these center pieces in. This is just a piece of scrap paper that I pulled out of my stash. It's not kind of a favorite design of mine, so I just thought I would use that to lay down today. So I'm going to get out my double-sided tape. Sorry. And I'm going to line these with tape at the top and bottom edges. I usually use wet glue, but I like to use the double-sided tape when I'm making cards. And I make cards once every couple of years because I do cards as gifts. So it's time for me to start making some cards. So I thought it would be nice to do this today. And I live off-grid in northern Arizona with my husband and our critters. We have cats and dogs and chickens. There's a little bit of information about me. Okay, so I'm going to pull this off. We also have a tool called Take Your Pick, and it's a really nice pick. I don't have that yet, so I'm using one of my old ones. It also has, it's got that pointy pick on the end, and then on this end, it has one of those things that you can pick up rhinestones and things with. It's like a little gummy end, which is really, really handy when you're dealing with rhinestones. So I'm just peeling off the backing. I like to do it like this because I don't always get things straight. So if I just do it one end at a time, I can lay it on there before I press everything down and make sure I get it nice and straight. That looks pretty good. Now for my stamped image, I'm just using a piece of white paper, cardstock, that I will be stamping on. So I'm going to do that Now, I'm going to pull out the stamps that came with the kit and pull out a, see if I can get one that's big enough. I think that's big enough. So here's one of the stamps, and this has a nice little sentiment on it, and I'll tell you what it says after I get it stamped. So I'm going to lay this down here. Put that down. So here's the Stampin' Up! Classic ink pad. So it pops open like this, and then it slides like that, which is really nice. And you don't have to press hard on the ink pad. You just barely lay your sentiment or your image on the pad. And you can just give it a couple of nice little gentle taps. Get this inked up. And now I'm going to lay it right about here, because I'm going to trim this later anyway, so if it's crooked, it's okay. Give it a good press. And look at that beautiful, beautiful stamp. Everything is nice and clear. It's wonderful. I'm really pleased with the Stampin' Up! Stamps. They're nice and clear. I always like to wipe them off right after each use. And then to close this, you just pull the end and flip it over, and it locks in place. So I'm going to move, well, actually I'm going to get out another trimmer here and trim this down. These are from Fiskars. So I just kind of guess. I got it crooked, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm just going to use a ruler. And I'm just going to lay this on, yeah, it's crooked. And I'm coming up at about 1/4 of an inch. So when I get it cut out, it'll be nice and straight. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I'm doing the same all the way around it, just 1/4 of an inch I'm giving myself. And I just take my line and line it up with the edge of the letters for the word. And give it a slice. And that usually makes it nice and straight. There we go with that. Now I'm going to ink this up with the Victorian Velvet. Now, Stampin' Up! All of their inks match their paper, they match their ribbons, all their little decorative pieces. Everything matches, so you don't have to worry about, well, will this polka dot go with the stripe or anything like that, or you have some florals. You don't have to worry about it. Everything matches, so it's really, really nice. So I'm going to take some double-sided tape, and I'm going to tape this on the inside of my card. Whoops. And here's the inside of my card. I don't have to worry about making sure it's turned the right way, because this is how I'm going to do it, except that's upside down. So I'm going to place that right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get the backing off of this tape. And I like to use tweezers. And I'm just going to kind of place it, just eyeball it. Now it looks pretty straight. And place that sentiment down. And the inside of the card is finished. So now I'm going to take this vellum and I'm going to place that on the card right here. So I'm going to put tape around the edge. of this piece. Take it all the way around that edge. Get it as close to the edge as you can. Same on this end. I probably should have had this done, but we're just going to do it as we go. This vellum is really nice. It's a heavier vellum. It's not that really thin stuff that you get at the craft stores. And with that beautiful gold leafing around the edge, makes it really nice and decorative. So there, we got the tape around that. So I'm going to burnish this tape down. And then I'm going to take the tape off of one edge. Get my card over here. And I'm going to center this piece up as good as I possibly can. There we go. Now it's a little bit more challenging because I'm not standing directly over my piece because my camera is in the way of my head. I'll peel this backing off. And then I'm going to peel the backing off these two edges. And this is really forgiving. You know, you can see how I'm bending this and it's not hurting it at all. So I'm not creasing it. It's just a gentle little bend. And get that laid down. Perfect. Now I'm going to take my floral piece and I'm going to take some vintage photo because it's so stark white to me. And I'm just going to rub my vintage photo over it and give it a little bit of an aged look to it. It's very light. It's not heavy at all. I'll do that. And I'm going to do the same with this piece. This is a yellow polka dot piece, and the color I'm using is Wild Honey. And the Wild Honey matches this piece perfectly. And I'm just going to go around the edges of that. I just can't not ink. I just can't not do it. So there's that. And then this piece, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take some vintage photo around this edge here. Just right around the edge. Oh, that was the honey, not the vintage photo. That's okay. There we go. Okay, so now I need to stamp my sentiment on here. And that one is right here. And I need to get another block out. And this sentiment, I'm just going to lay that down there. Get this on as straight as I can. Open my ink back up. That inked up really well. And I'm going to place, it's upside down. Here we go. And I'm just eyeballing. And there we go. Hopefully it's straight. And it is. And you can see how beautifully that's stamped. Nice and clear. Okay. Excuse me. So the next thing is to put these two pieces together. So we're going to put some tear tape on here. Let me close up my ink pad because I'll stick my hand in it, I'm sure. It just slides out and snaps shut. So I'm going to take the double-sided tape backing off. Get out my tweezers. And I measured, this is about 3/4 of an inch in. So I'm going to put my, there, 3/4 of an inch. Is that right? Yep, 3/4 of an inch. Here's a black line. And lay that in there, just like that. And now I need to put some tape on these edges. And I'm just doing the ends here because of how I'm going to tuck my bouquet inside here. So I don't want to tape it down the center. Oh, I keep hitting that. Okay, so I'm going to bring my card over and I'm going to lay this down. Whoops, make sure it's the right way. Lay this down, and I need to trim this just a hair. Just a little bit longer than what I want. So I'm going to trim it just a tiny, tiny bit. And it's such a small amount you can hardly tell I even trimmed it. There we go. So I'm going to put this about right there so you can see the gold leafing there at the bottom. And I'm going to place that down. And I got it trimmed just right. Let's remove that backing. I'm just going to do it on one side. And before I stick it down, I want to make sure I have my bouquet in the right place. There we go. I think that looks good. So I'm just going to do this right edge, and then we're going to set this aside because we have another piece to make. So my scrap piece right here, I want to cut this down to 5.5. And I need my paper trimmer. I'm just going to give that a quick trim. There we are. And I ended up with just a little square out of an 8x8. So that was fabulous. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the floral stamp. It has 3 little flowers in it, and we're going to stamp this up. Now these ink pads are nice and tight. They are easy to open up. Oh, I just stuck my finger in it. They are very easy to open up, and we're just going to willy-nilly stamp around this. Oops. Now, if you do what I just did, you can see I didn't quite get it stamped down properly. These stamps, you can go right over the top. See if I can do it again. Right over the top of them. Make sure I have the right flowers on here. Turn the right way. And match it up perfectly. So I'm just taking this piece and I'm just stamping around it with this beautiful stamp. Filling this paper in. And I'm not worrying how perfect it is because some of it is going to be covered. And I'm turning my stamp as I go. I don't know if you can tell that, but that's what I'm doing. And turning my paper at the same time. And I'm okay if they overlap a little bit. That just gives it okay. So that piece is done. Now it's not perfect, and that's okay. I don't want it to be perfect. Set that aside. I'm going to close this up. Okay, so this piece, and what I'm going to do is I have a ruler here that has an edging on it. And I'm going to tear some of this off, but I know how much I want. 1/4 of an inch of this tore off. So I'm going to mark it with a pencil. Just the top and bottom. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Just 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to tear this piece. Now this doesn't tell me who made this. Oh, it's made by Plaid. Excuse me. I've had this piece for 100 years. So that way I can line it up with my pencil marks so I know exactly where I want to tear. And just hold firmly. And it gives you this beautiful little edge. I'll do this on the same other side. Just do the exact same thing. And there we go. Now I'm going to ink this up. Make sure I grab the right one this time. Here we go. And this ink just happens, or this color just happens to match this perfectly. Okay, so this piece now is going to get some tape on the edges, on the top and bottom edge. Burnish that down. Take the backing off. Just one end. Slide that under, and I'm putting this about center. And it's going to come all the way down to the edge of my card. That looks about right. Give that a press down. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to remove that backing. Make sure it's straight. Press it down. Now I can remove the tape on this side and remove the backing off of this, off of my sentiment piece. That looks pretty good. So then we're going to use the dimensionals on the back of this. And I'm just using a few, don't need many. I'll put one right in here and one in the center. And there we have it. Now these are really easy to use your pick tool with, because it just picks them right up if you do it correctly. There we go. Just poke and pull, it comes right off. I'm stuck to it. They're very sticky. There we go. So now this piece, you gotta be a little bit careful when you're putting it in place. And I'm gonna take this piece right here and put it over the top. So I'm gonna come down in, get that lifted up. There we are. And look at my piece. And it's right where I want it, and give it a press. So now we've got dimension to this piece. Now the last thing is I'm going to use some of these. This I ordered also, and these are the basic jewel rhinestones. And I'm going to use a few of these, and these, they come in 2 different sizes. You've got a smaller size. I don't know the measurements on there, and it doesn't tell me what the measurement is. No. But these are larger than these, and these fit perfectly in the center of those little flowers. And they are sticky back for you. You just lift them off. And I think I used 6 on here. And they stick really well. Even using the Tim Holtz ink, they stick great. And I think one more. Oh. I think I'll put it right. No, I'll put it right there at the top. Right on that flower. And then just give it a press. Now these did not, I ordered these separate. They did not come in the kit. Excuse me. But that is our card right there. Now the envelope. Did I pull out an envelope? I did. I think. No, I did not. Let me get an envelope. The envelopes are folded for you and glued together. There's our envelope. They have they're printed. They have prints on this. I think I'll use the polka dot one instead of the green one. So what I did is I turned this down, and I'm going to grab my ink again. And my stamp, and I want it to stamp like that, so I want the little one down at the very bottom. Let me get my little piece stamped up here, and I'm going to bring this, I'm trying to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring this down, sorry if my head's in the way, and stamp right on that end, just like that. And I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to fold this down, just crease it with my hand for now, and I'm going to take my stamp, and now it doesn't matter which way your stamp is turned. You can have it turned any way you wish, and I'm going to start stamping right along the edge of my envelope. Just like that. And let me wipe this off. And there's our envelope. Excuse me. And our card. Turned out fabulous. I think it's beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. There will be more Stampin' Up to come. Thank you. Bye-bye.